We are all connected through shared experiences, and while our circumstances may vary, there is almost always a common thread in our stories. I am Amy Seaman, and these are the stories that connect us.
Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of A Common Thread podcast. I'm your host, Amy Seaman, and today I have with me Brittany Heyboer.
Hey.
Brittany owns Unlock Her Co. And I'm going to let her explain what it is because it is multifaceted for sure. And it's also evolved since I initially met her. But Brittany and I met in 2021, back when I had a styling studio at the Shops of Arbor Lakes.
Yep.
I've been actually really thinking about that space a lot lately and kind of missing it.
Magical.
I'm missing the magic of it. Maybe we'll revisit that again in some way. Anyway, I digress. So we met, she came in with your mom and you did a styling session together. You were pregnant at the time.
Yes.
And so a lot of it was more focused on your mom, but you wanted some pieces that you could wear that weren't maternity specific that you could wear beyond. And the jacket you were wearing was from that. I every time I see you in it on Instagram, I smile. I actually still have the same jacket too.
I love it.
Yeah. You're like, I need a denim jacket, but like I want it to be like a cool one. And I was like, I know the exact jacket that you need.
And I'm obsessed with it still.
Yes. So Brittany and I have stayed connected, and it's been really fun to watch without speaking for you. It's just been fun to watch our journeys unfold because I had just left my corporate job. You were wanting to leave your corporate job, and now you have.
I have.
And you were doing some really amazing work in the community and helping women advance their careers and themselves forward. You also have a podcast, which I was a guest on at one point.
Yep.
And anyway, I wanted to have you on mine to talk about the work that you're doing because I think there's a lot of common threads there in our stories. Yeah. Now they intersect, and also just the way in which you're helping women. I think that there's a lot of takeaways. And even when we were having the call prepping for this, I was like, okay, I feel like I'm in a therapy session. We are going to go deep and I am going to be vulnerable and we're going to talk about all the things. So why don't we start by you sharing what you do and then let's get into it.
All right. So a little bit of my story is that I was corporate climbing. So I always think it's like nice to hear that because I didn't jump right into entrepreneurship. I'd always had entrepreneurship on my heart. I was like, one day, and I feel like this can be relatable. One day to me was like, oh, when I maybe retire or like I've made it to this certain point in my career, or I have like X amount of years and experience and all that kind of stuff. It was like one day way far away. And what I realized, and we'll talk a bit about self-doubt and imposter syndrome, is a lot of that was at play. Mm-hmm. And I finally was able to work through some of that and kind of dip my toe into entrepreneurship and then kind of unlocked this company. My background is in HR, coaching, leadership development, learning and development. So there are still pieces of that a part of Unlock Her Co. And what I really specialize in now is helping women-owned businesses build the lasting legacy that they desire from the inside out. Mm-hmm. And I specifically specialize in something called subconscious reprogramming, which can, for some people, be like, what the heck is that? Or people are like, I've heard about the subconscious mind, but I don't really understand it.
Yeah.
And the way I like to explain it is, first and foremost, 95% of your behaviors are driven by your subconscious mind. And most of the time, they're driven by things that you are not even aware of, hence subconscious. Only 5% is driven by like what you're aware of, the strategies, the frameworks, your experience, different things like that, which it's an important 5%. And yet most people spend most of their time, money, and energy focused on the 5% and it can feel hard. Change can feel hard. Your career can feel hard. Life can feel hard. I know for me, motherhood and marriage can feel hard when you're not focusing on the part that really drives your reality. And so once I learned about the subconscious space, I could not unlearn it for myself. And then I knew I wasn't helping clients as much as I could, because at the time when I started my company, I was really focused on what I would now call conscious work, which again was helpful and people were seeing results, and the personal development world is built on conscious work and it's helpful. And what I realized is I wanted to help even more, and to help build those legacies, I needed to be more equipped. So I went on a whole journey for myself, got certified in all things subconscious reprogramming, and that's what I specialize in now. And that's what I think we'll dig into a little bit today too.
I think one thing that you said that I want to call out is sometimes the idea that we start with isn't always the thing that we end up landing or where we find our most sense of fulfillment. 100%. I know where I started, just even in my approach in styling women, has changed so significantly to where I am today. I started with what's trending, more of like, I don't ever want to say rules of fashion because I don't really live by rules of fashion, but kind of like just more of the mechanics of it, putting an outfit together. And once I started realizing that when you start aligning your style with your soul and the energy that you want to put out, man, what a difference that has made. And so my business model and the way that I even approach styling has completely shifted from where I started too. So know that when you take this leap, it can change, and you have to be open to that.
Yeah. And a part of my story too is I actually didn't jump right into building a company. I stayed in corporate full time and actually dipped my toe in by partnering with a company. So I actually started partnering. I became like a health coach for a specific kind of health program and dipped my toe in then. So that's actually where I started, and then realized that there was something else inside of me that I'd always wanted to do. And that's where Unlock Her Co was born. And then she's evolved and pivoted a million times, just like you're talking about. And I think that is such an important thing to share, because a lot of times we wait till something's, we're like, it's got to be perfect. It has to be the perfect time. It has to be exactly what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, or I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have to have it all figured out until you jump. Yep. That is such a good reminder. Okay, so talk more. If you're comfortable sharing some of, like, you said you went on your own personal discovery to tapping into the subconscious. So what were some of those triggers or things that kind of spurred you into your own discovery?
Yeah. So what I found is I started building my company Unlock Her Co, and I knew I wanted to leave corporate. And yet when I went on that journey, and you can probably relate to this and other entrepreneurs, is it felt really hard and it felt really lonely. And I was like, I must be doing something wrong. Like, somebody else has got to have an answer for me on how I can make this easier and like better, and I can get more sales and more clients, etc. I was like, someone's got the magic bullet. Looking outside of me, which I did my entire career in corporate too, always looking to someone else to give me the answers, because I didn't trust myself. At the time, I would never have told you that. At the time, I would have never told you that I was playing victim, but I was definitely a victim in my own story, and it was woe is me on everything. Oh, my career in corporate didn't look how I wanted it to. And like, just in these stories that, again, I didn't realize, because I didn't know the subconscious space was actually driving my reality. Because every thought we have, whether positive or negative, our subconscious sees it as truth. And mine was, I am not enough. My whole life. I am not enough. Not because, right?
Yes.
And
amen. I know that.
Yeah. And it's not because, for me, it wasn't that my parents said anything. Like, I come from a very privileged family. There wasn't anything that was this like moment that somebody told me I'm not enough. It's just these small things over time, whether it be society or your family, or, you know, friends, right? Like, anyone in your world that did something that just hit you. And
not to interrupt, but like, that truly just resonates with me, because I still think about this, and I unpack it with my therapist a bit. For me, what it brings up is I had a lot of relationships in my life, mostly with men, boys at the time, who would want to hook up with me in secret, but would never date me. And I felt like I'm not good enough to be seen in public with them. I still have dreams about this one guy in high school. I am 41 years old, and I'm not married to this man. And I actually never dated him, but we hooked up in high school all the way through to college occasionally. And I remember confronting him at one point, and he's like, well, you used to date my best friend, so you were always off limits to me in that way, like publicly. And I'm like, well, that's not fair to me, you know, whatever. But anyway, and that happened again through college. I had the similar situations. And then in my corporate life, I was the one with the ideas, and yet other people were taking them and presenting them as their own. And I was not given the title I deserved, was not given the pay I was deserved, was not given the credibility I deserved. And so that subconsciously does stay with you to say, I'm not enough.
Yeah. And what I will tell you, and I always share this with people, is that reality that you were getting was because that thought and that belief was already there.
Okay.
And so that's where people sometimes, this is why this work is so powerful, is because we're taught to look at like our circumstances or what's happening to us, and those are the things. But all our beliefs actually get imprinted in us, which is, I always share this, and it can feel like a lot when you're a mom, but it's helpful to know is like our belief system gets imprinted in us 7 years or younger, and it's even generational. So it may not even be anything that happened in your lifetime. It could be your parents' lifetime or something like that. That's embedded in your mind and in your body. So it's a lot of nervous system stuff too that just created that thought. And then proof happens because our subconscious is caught up in that cycle of I'm not enough. So it's like, oh, you believe you're not enough. Like, I'm going to get you proof for that because you are focused on that. And because it doesn't know the difference between positive or negative, it's similar. I always share this too. Like, you know, you hear the parenting tip, don't say don't to your kids. Like, don't do that. Have you heard that? So one of the parenting tips that's out there is like, try to tell your kids like what you want them to do, not what you don't want them to do, because our brain is wired differently and it has a hard time crossing out the don't. Because it literally, like if I say don't think of a blue tree, did you think of a blue tree? Yeah. So it's the same thing because your brain has to work twice as hard to understand that don't because it originally sees it as blue tree.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then how do you reframe that? Because lots of times so for example, last night, my 6th grader did not want to go to lacrosse practice. Was like having an absolute fit and we needed to leave in 15 minutes. And he is of the age where I can't physically pick him up and put him in the car and make him go. And I kept saying to him, don't do this. Please don't do this. So what's another way then that I could say, please don't do this?
Yeah, I know that. And sometimes, right, I'm not a parenting expert. Here's the reframes I work on because if you were in my household, you'd hear me say don't a lot, even though I know it. And I catch myself and it's thinking about, well, what do you want him to do? So
I want him to go to practice.
And why do you want him to go to practice?
Because he's the captain of the team and it's a commitment he's made. And also it becomes a pattern for him. When we let him skip once, then it becomes easier to skip in the future on the days he doesn't.
And why does he want to go to practice?
He feels he didn't have a good practice on Tuesday. So then come Thursday, he didn't want to go because he was still holding on to stuff that happened on Tuesday.
Yeah. And so it's thinking about like, what is his why for going this time? And what is his why for even playing and reminding him of his why?
Yeah.
And going that direction, which is so hard in the moment when we're hijacked by the emotion of like, we're late. This happened this morning. We were behind and we're yelling like, we got to go. And then my kid isn't moving and doing way more things than if I had just sat back and kind of explained like what's happening. Why are we in a rush? And again, that can happen. That is hard when you're hijacked, but it gets their mind focused on the deeper why and like what you want to do. And it takes time and practice and we're not going to do it perfectly. Dr. Becky, like the positive psychologist, she talks a lot about this. And in my work, this is where that comes up.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, for sure. Okay. So you were having these moments of feeling like you were not enough and some victim mentality. And so then what?
And I didn't realize I was having that at the time because a lot of times we don't realize that's like what we're in. And I ended up hiring a business coach and I was like, she's going to have the answer for me.
Yeah.
And she did help me figure out like what I wanted to do, which is great. And yet I still was in these patterns. Yeah. I was still in these patterns and honestly patterns that followed me from corporate. Because in my head, I was like, well, if I just leave corporate and I go and do this thing, things are going to be better. I'm going to feel better. Mine was like, I'm going to feel more fulfilled because I was not fulfilled. And guess what? I didn't feel more fulfilled. I was excited about what I was doing and I knew there was a future, but it didn't immediately create that fulfillment. And so I, on Instagram, like discovered, just like we do in a lot of places, discovered the subconscious work and went down a whole rabbit hole. And I decided that, you know what, I'm going to try something. So I started doing hypnosis. Which is the fastest way to get to your subconscious mind. And basically a lot of people will think of hypnosis like stage hypnosis, right?
That's immediately
like
what my mind was.
Bark like a dog. And that's a type of hypnosis. Like that happens. And the people who end up on the stage are the people who would actually bark like a dog anyway. Yeah. The type of hypnosis I do, and I'm a hypnotherapist now too, is really, it's just deep meditation.
Okay.
And I like to say that like you're in a deeper trance, you're not asleep. It's technically self-hypnosis because I can't make you do anything. Your subconscious is highly neural. So I couldn't put you into hypnosis and like tell you to do something you didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And so I started practicing that through someone I found. And then she has a program that you can get certified in as a subconscious practitioner. And I had been looking for a coaching program because I was like, oh, if I just hone my craft, if I get more experience, this will fix everything. And I realized like this was the work that was going to do it. And so instead of just like dabbling in it, I decided to get certified in it and completely submerge myself into the work and learn a space called neuro-linguistic programming, which is kind of the basis of subconscious work, which is basically the study of your language and how it impacts how you feel, how you behave, your reality, your results. And it's a language that you talk to yourself, like we were talking about thought patterns, but it's also a language you use out loud and say, and the impact that has. Because again, that goes back to like the fact that I hope everyone walks away with and remembers is that 95% of your reality is driven by what's going on in the inside. So you have way more control over your life than you think you do. And I know, especially in kind of the place we are in the world right now, things can feel a lot really out of our hands. And that's absolutely true in some cases. And at the same time, how you react, how you show up, what you decide to do within yourself and your family makes a bigger difference than you think.
Yeah. My husband always gets on me because I have a self-deprecating sense of humor. And I don't know that I think that it comes from a place where I'm trying to like mask anything. I actually find humor in my messy.
Yeah.
But he gets really bothered sometimes when I say like, I'm a hot mess.
Yeah.
He's like, stop saying, like it bothers him to hear me say that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I am a little hot messy, but I don't know. It's just interesting. So am I me saying that, is that making my life messier?
I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because most likely that's coming from something deeper.
Yeah.
Not because like your deepest thing is I'm messy. There's just something behind that. And we're using, again, humor is beautiful. It's just good to be aware of like, where is that coming from? It doesn't mean you can't say it and it's going to like keep you there. It's just like, okay, what might be behind that?
Yeah.
And because that thought pattern of I'm a hot mess is going to tell your subconscious, like, show me the messy in my life. Because
so when we say it, it then shows us that.
Yeah. And it comes inside first. So it's in your subconscious first, and then it comes out of your mouth. And there's a lot of things that don't come out of our mouth that are living in our subconscious that we're not even aware of. So there's some type of belief behind the hot mess that you're talking about that's like keeping you in that cycle. And again, it could be that you're like, I don't mind it. Like, it's not a big deal. And that's cool. Like, that's my thing as like a coach and a practitioner. I'm never here to tell you like, don't say that, don't do this.
Yeah.
If it's helping you, if it's serving you, if you're like, hey, like this is just a part of who I am, like you were kind of saying like, this is actually, I don't feel like it's hurtful. Like I think then like I say, go for it. Cause like how you define hot mess is different than how I define.
Right.
And that's what's happening with you and your husband is how he defines hot mess or how he sees it in his model of the world is different than yours.
Yeah.
Even though you live in the same household, we're all filtering by different things. He has different beliefs, programming, right? He grew up different. Everything
We
is
have very
filtering.
different programming for me.
And I know you should. I mean, all of us do.
Which
you and
is
I
why
do.
we work.
Yeah. And it's beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so I think it's just going like, hey, is this serving me by saying that?
And I will say that, just as you're talking, I'm thinking about where some of the mess is coming from. I think sometimes I do say it because it is, part of it probably is I'm not enough in that I don't ever see myself getting my life in a place where it will feel that it's in order.
Yeah.
Where I can keep things organized, neat. I can be on time. I can be efficient. Like I just feel I can see things through to completion.
Yeah.
And so when it does, I'm like, well, it's a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's helpful. It's a protection thing because everything people think, and I don't know if you felt this way, but this is me, like, I just feel like I keep self-sabotaging myself, you know? And at the end of the day, self-sabotaging is self-protection.
Okay.
It's trying to keep you safe.
Yeah.
So you using that is just trying to keep you safe. There's nothing wrong. Like, I'm never in a place to be like, that's wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, what's behind that?
Yeah.
Which is where you went. You were like, okay, I think this is what's behind it. And then when it comes out, it's just kind of like, okay, this is just who I am.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is okay. It's great to be messy and it's great to do. It's just like, what's happening behind it isn't helpful.
Right. And I think that there are days where I'm okay with the messy. And then there are other times where the mess is also a trigger for me. Yeah. Like I get so overwhelmed. And I think a lot of this too, I am ADHD and I think a lot of this is part of that, right? Like my mind is going in a million different directions and I find myself all of a sudden just sitting at the top of the stairs with my phone. Like what was I doing? How did I even get here? Yeah. Yeah. Like, and so then I think, well, because of the way my brain is wired, it's never going to actually change. This is just who I am. But I want to find that happy medium where it's not so triggering for me. Yeah. And I feel like anytime I've turned to like self-help books, or podcasts. They're all written by type A people and designed for type A people. And that is not me.
Yeah. And that's why this work is really different, because it's meant to get to the core of who you are, not to who I think you are. It's not who I think your beliefs are. Like, I couldn't tell you, like, I could maybe guess what's behind what that hot mess piece is, but I could never tell you that. It's not my job.
Yeah.
It's not my job to give you that language. It's not my job it's my job to pull it out of you and then use techniques to actually shift it. And so that's what I'm trained in. Is so a lot of work is like, a lot of personal development work out there too is awareness, which is you have to have first. Then people are like, but what do I do? Do I just like tell myself affirmations over and over again? Right. Which is a lot of what is out there. Like, just say this 5 times in the mirror and like give yourself a high five, or like those things, which can be helpful. But it doesn't get to the deepest parts of you that are really driving everything. It'll help for a little while. And then, right, like I've had this experience because I consider myself a personal development junkie. Is just like, I do it and I can do it for like maybe a few months. And then it's like back to my old patterns, back to who I was. Like, and the same story of like, this is just who I am. Like, this must just be who I am. Like, I just am not disciplined enough. I'm not motivated enough. I just can't be consistent. For me, the story that comes from not being good enough or not enough is everything has to be hard.
Here's something positive to focus on. This May, your oil change can actually help change lives. At any Apple Autos location, when you get an oil change, they'll donate $1 to Hope Chest for breast cancer, up to $10,000. It's called Get an Oil Change, Give Hope, and it's one of those simple things that makes a real impact. Apple Autos has been supporting Hope Chest every year since 2011, and the work they're doing is so important, providing financial help to local breast cancer patients for housing, transportation, even basic daily needs. And the best part? You don't even have to leave your house. Apple Autos offers free pickup and delivery for oil changes, so it's easy to do a little good while taking care of your car. Go to appleautos.com and schedule your oil change today, because every mile you drive can help someone else keep going. For years, I struggled with symptoms I couldn't explain. What I now know was the start of perimenopause. My general practitioner missed it. My naturopath missed it. I spent over $10,000 on testing. I tried every supplement Instagram threw at me, and still nothing worked. But I refused to give up, because this is not as good as it gets. Then I found Harmony Wellness. One consult literally changed everything. I was in their office that same day, finally feeling seen and heard. I started hormone replacement therapy shortly after, and for the first time in years, I feel so much hope. If you are struggling, please hear me. You are not alone. Your health is absolutely worth fighting for. Schedule a free consultation with Harmony Wellness today and take the first step toward feeling like yourself again. You are worth it. I'm in what I like to call my Pam Anderson era. I am simplifying. I'm trying to embrace my natural beauty. I'm trying to strip down to the basics. But let's be real. I am not Pam Anderson, so I wasn't getting quite the same results. I realized that the biggest miss was in my skin. It was looking dull, tired, a lot of sunspots, broken capillaries, fine lines, wrinkles. Basically, just years of neglect were catching up to me. So I went to Infinite Youth Med Spa, and after a quick consultation, they recommended Moxie plus BBL laser treatments. I've had just 1 of 3 sessions so far, and I cannot tell you how many people have commented on how much I'm glowing. It's the kind of confidence boost that I don't think I really knew I needed. What I love about Infinite Youth is that they never made me feel like I needed anything. They just listened. They get that we all have our own insecurities, and they help you make the right choice for you without overdoing it. If your skin is feeling tired, if you're looking to simplify, trust me, the best investment you can make is not in makeup, it is in skincare. Go rebuild your confidence at Infinite Youth Med Spa and tell them A Common Thread sent you. I can snap a mirror selfie of my outfit of the day with full confidence, but the second you point a camera at me, I totally panic. Suddenly I'm questioning everything, like where do my hands go? What kind of face am I supposed to make? Am I attempting to look serious and sexy, or am I laughing off to the side at something hysterical that's not even there? It just feels uncomfortable. But Profesci has completely changed the game for me when it comes to professional photos. Their photographers instantly make you feel comfortable, guiding you through poses so you never feel awkward. Plus, their playlists always set the perfect vibe the moment you walk in the door. You will be dancing your way through that photo shoot in no time. And if a little liquid confidence helps, Prosecco is served as part of the package. I'm just saying. You might know them on Instagram for their signature pink backdrop, but if bold colors aren't your thing, do not worry. They've got neutral options too. Professional was designed to make professional photos painless and accessible with quick turnaround times and sessions as short as 15 minutes. So if it's been 5 years or more since your last headshot, consider this your sign. Book now at profeshii.com. That's profeshie.com. And don't forget to mention a common thread.
Everything has to be hard. My health journey has to be hard. My career has to be hard. Building a business has to be hard. Marriage has to be hard. Motherhood has to be hard. For me, like that was like the underlying thing that I didn't realize. And guess what? If that's what I'm focused on, everything's hard. Everything is hard. And so that's a big one that I've been working on because it still comes up and I live this work and it's a journey, not a destination. And I tell my clients that all the time. I talk to them about like a lot of times when we go, and this is related to therapy and other things that we're doing. It's like we go in and we're like, boop, got that thing. Like, you know, what is the game where you like bop the guys coming up?
The little mold.
Yeah. And you like hit them and then you're like, where's my prize? I did the work. Like, and it doesn't work like that. It's a journey and not this, like, if you're doing it for some kind of prize or some kind of thing, which was originally where I was when I was doing this work. I'm like, I'm going to do this so that I can have the most successful business and like whatever. And yes, that will come, but that can't be my main focus. It just has to be about like healing myself and healing those deeper parts of me. I do a lot of parts work with individuals too, because a lot of times we have different parts of us that are in conflict. And that's why we're feeling friction in our lives as well.
Can you give me an example of that? Like when you say different parts? Like,
So there's a part of, for example, for me, I'm going to use my corporate job. There was a part of me that desired to stay in my corporate job. And there was a part of me that desired to leave my corporate job. And they were in conflict. They felt like they wanted different things. And when we go through this process, what happens is these parts that are in conflict actually were a part of a whole at one time. Both parts wanted me to be fulfilled. But I couldn't see that. I couldn't experience that. I was like, mad. I literally, when I did this process that we go through, my one part that wanted to stay in corporate America, and there's a lot that goes into it, but I'll just share, like, you give it a name, it looks like something. Mine looked like the first boss I had, a white male, first boss I had. And it was this experience where like you try to figure out like what resources do they have. And I just wanted nothing to do with that part. And I could tell it was that deep. And that was the technique that finally allowed me to feel safe leaving my corporate job and feeling confident that me going where I really, really know I'm meant to go is the safest and most fulfilling direction to go. And so there's a lot of times if you're finding yourself in inaction, a lot of times it's parts conflict. Because there's a part, like, again, they're there to try to keep you safe. And protect you. Like, it's not bad. So that's also my thing is, people can believe their limiting beliefs are bad. These feelings that they have are bad, and nothing's bad. It's all information. And then it's deciding what's going to serve you better.
So this is so fascinating. I'm just like always into all this kind of stuff. So once you figured out that like your underlying was that things have to be hard, then how do you move? What do you do with that action?
So truthfully, I have my own practitioner. So I embody this work. I invest in it. I don't believe there are things you can do on your own, and then there are things from a maintenance perspective. So like I do hypnosis. I do something called emotional freedom technique, which is a really powerful technique that helps you disrupt undesired feelings. So you were talking about like overwhelm and different things like that. So if I were feeling overwhelmed, I would use this technique to tap out the feelings by addressing what's happening in my body and in my mind. And so that's
is that something you can share? Like, could we get a glimpse of what that looks like?
Do you want to do it? Okay.
What do I do?
Okay, so we're just going to do one round, and so basically we'll just use we'll use overwhelm. Does overwhelm feel right? Okay. So when you think of overwhelm, what comes along with overwhelm? Like, what thoughts or behaviors come with when you feel overwhelmed?
I immediately feel ragey, irritable. Like, that's the first emotion that comes out. Like, everything compounds, right? So I'm like, it's not just this one space in my home is making me feel overwhelmed. It's Our kitchen is built in the 90s. It doesn't function the way I want. I don't like hosting anymore because we don't have the space.
Yes.
I have given up on even putting art on that blank wall for years because I'm so overwhelmed with what to put there. I choose to do nothing. I can't keep my laundry put away.
Yep.
And then I think my household, and then it goes out from there of like, I have emails that I need to follow up on, and I just haven't. And I know I need to show up more on social, and I need to show up more on LinkedIn. And so all of this comes in at once,
Yep.
and then I implode.
Yep.
I get irritable and angry, and then I shut down, and I choose nothing.
Okay. So there's that side of it. How do you want to feel instead? And what do you want to think instead? And how do you want to behave instead?
Well, I'd like to be less bitchy.
Yes. If less bitchy, then what? Like,
Yeah.
what do you want to be instead?
I want to feel a sense of control of because I think when I get overwhelmed, I feel out of control. And I want to feel like, yes, this is a big mess, but I know I will get to it. And I know how to get, sometimes it's like the how to, like I look at piles, I'm like, I don't even know where I'm supposed to put this stuff. Like, I don't even know what to do with this information. So I think I would like to feel more in control and that it's easier
Okay.
to tackle.
Okay. What else? A few more.
I'd like to feel confident that I will actually be able to get it done. I think I lack confidence in my ability to like see things through.
Okay. Okay. So how we're going to start this is I want you to think of a number between 0 and 10, rating the intensity of overwhelm right now. 0 being you don't feel any type of overwhelm, and 10 being you're like literally paralyzed by overwhelm.
Yeah.
And give it a rating.
Okay.
Okay.
Will you say it out loud or just think about it?
Up to you.
I'm between a 7 and an 8.
Okay. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be tapping on a part of our body. So this would be cool if you are watching the video, or if you're not, head on over to watch it because you can see this. And what we're going to be doing is tapping the meridian points on our body to help move stuck energy that's tied to the overwhelm
Okay.
while saying things out loud.
Okay.
So we're going to be starting with the side of our hand. So you're just going to either hand.
like,
Yep. You can
we're
do it.
tapping it.
Yep.
We're
You can do
tapping
this, or you
the
can do
side of our
this.
hand.
Yep. We're tapping the side of our hand, and you're just going to repeat after me.
Okay.
Even though I feel overwhelmed,
Even though I feel overwhelmed,
I deeply honor myself.
I deeply honor myself.
Even though I feel overwhelmed,
Even though I feel overwhelmed,
I deeply accept myself.
I deeply accept myself.
Even though I feel overwhelmed,
Even though I feel overwhelmed,
I deeply love myself.
I deeply love myself.
Okay, and we're going to move into 8 other points while honoring the overwhelm. And that's the power of this technique, is the fact that you actually get to express it, where a lot of times our immediate reaction is to try to mask it and pretend it's not there and like shove it down. And that's when we become that kind of like boiling pot.
Yep.
Because we're like, I got to do life, I got to do things. And so that's the power of this technique, is we're going to do 1 round in the interest of time.
Yep.
The goal would be to get you down to 0. So you'd be doing as many rounds as possible,
Okay.
talking to the overwhelm to get you to 0.
Okay.
Because the goal is right now, you can't really tap into that ease and that control and the things that you want, because your whole mind and body is filled. Because do you physically feel overwhelmed in your body?
yeah.
Yeah. And that's why this is a powerful technique, because it's both physical with the tapping
Yep.
and mental with the words that we're saying out loud.
Okay.
And so we're going to go through the 1 round of like honoring, holding space, and releasing the overwhelm.
Okay.
So we're going to start with the eyebrow.
Okay.
We're just going to tap. We're tapping next to the eyebrow. I feel frustrated.
I feel frustrated.
Side of the eye. I feel out of control.
I feel out of control.
Under the eye. I'm noticing everything in my house.
I'm noticing everything in my house.
Under the nose. I feel like I need to show up on social media.
I feel like I need to show up on social media.
Chin. I feel like there's so much I need to be doing.
I feel like there's so much I need to be doing.
Collarbone. I feel paralyzed.
I feel paralyzed.
Under the arm. I feel myself getting heated.
I feel myself getting heated.
On top of the head. I feel out of control.
I feel out of control.
And I'm ready to release this overwhelm.
And I'm ready to release this overwhelm.
And then you'd bring your hands down to your heart and you'd take a breath in and out. And then I want you to check in with your mind and body and see how much closer to 0 you are.
I mean, I feel like my heart is not beating as fast as it was.
And that's really good to pay attention. So you were 7 and an 8. Do you feel like you came down at all based on that? Yeah. And what I will share is some people don't in the first round.
Yeah.
And some people go up in the first round.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we've masked it so much that we haven't allowed ourselves to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
People talk a ton about vulnerability with others. I talk a ton about being vulnerable with yourself because a lot of times we're not vulnerable with ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we're masking. Because we're trying to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
And so this process really helps you to take off the mask and just really pay attention like you did. I love that you were like, my heart is beating less quickly. And that's what I always encourage people. It's like your body tells you first before your mind. And so you notice that.
Yep.
And so you would go through a couple of those rounds with the goal of getting to 0.
Okay.
To then go to this final round that we're going to do really quick.
Okay.
Because now you have space to tap in that ease and that calm and that control that you desire.
Okay.
So that you can then move through your day from a place of more confidence, more calm.
Yep.
Because when you're more confident and calm, how do you act?
I mean, I'm more productive and I'm more joyful.
Yeah. And it's like, why wouldn't we want that? And that's why I feel so passionate about
lighter.
Oh, I love that.
I can feel in my body when I'm heavy and when I'm light.
Yeah. And that's such a good thing to tap into and be like, okay, when I'm feeling heavy, like I'm going to do some tapping. And you can just tap your way through, saying the things out loud. Or sometimes if you're like, I don't even know what to say, just starting to tap can help you get the words out there too. So we're going to tap in some of that calm and ease.
Okay.
Hold that down.
Great.
Okay, we're going to go back to those points that we started.
Okay.
So the eyebrow, I am calm.
I am calm.
Side of the eye, I'm confident.
I am confident.
Under the eye, I am in control.
I am in control.
Under the nose, I am ready.
I am ready.
Chin, I feel at ease.
I feel at ease.
Collarbone, I am meant for this.
I am meant for this.
Under the arm, I feel prepared.
I feel prepared.
And top of the head, I feel calm.
I feel calm.
I feel at ease.
I feel at ease.
I feel ready.
I feel ready.
And then you bring your hands down, taking a breath in and out. And letting that really integrate in and noticing how that feels to feel calm and ease.
I feel like I'm going to cry.
Yeah. Emotional freedom technique. It frees the emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some of the emotion is coming up because I am at conflict with myself.
Yeah.
I do believe deep down that I am ready.
Yeah.
And that I am confident and that I can make a difference. And yet I still have that doubt of, are you ever going to actually make it happen? Are you ever actually going to change? And is it going to ever be bigger than what it is today?
Yeah. And that conflict is just going to keep tethering you back.
Yep.
Tethering you back. Because it's loud and it's been there a while.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so I think like it's one, giving ourselves grace. I think there's so much power in understanding what's behind it all. Because I think when you don't understand it or you don't understand how the subconscious works and you don't have these techniques in your toolkit or someone to help you with that, you can just stay in the cycle of shame and guilt and frustration and why am I not doing, like that was me. I'm like, why? I know what to do. And I know I'm capable, but yet I just don't feel enough. It's never enough. And everything needed to be perfect before I did anything. I was so afraid of being judged. I cared so deeply about what other people thought. I wanted to be liked real bad. And so that runs deep from childhood.
Yeah.
Again, no matter how great or hard your childhood is, everybody's walking around with an imprint that we didn't get to choose.
Yeah.
And it's impacted our reality and our life. Yeah.
It's interesting, when you say that you feel like you need things to be perfect before you start. I'm the opposite. I just jump into things before I have really even thought it all the way through. And what happens is my husband operates on the opposite side of his brain. So
as they always do.
With logic and reason and facts and data. And so he'll start asking, for example, here's a perfect example of this. When I decided I was going to start a podcast, and I have been toying with this for so long.
Yeah.
Everyone's always like, you should start a podcast. I'm like, what am I going to talk about? didn't think that I was enough
Yeah.
to do it on my own. So I started down this path with a friend. And then I think by design, her conflict at work that caused her from moving forward was actually the universe telling me I am enough to do it on my own.
Always.
And it took a completely different direction than what it was initially going to be. And I remember the moment that I heard that she wasn't moving forward, I felt so devastated.
Yeah.
Like, now what? Because I thought this was going to be it. And then I met with a friend, and I do believe that like God delivers messages to us through others. And he just kind of really challenged me of like, you're so good at storytelling. You're so good at lifting women up, and you're so good at like, you have this compassion. Like maybe there's something there. And it just clicked. And I called my husband. I was at Pure Lima right next door. Called my husband, and I'm in tears. I'm like, I've got it. This is it. And he immediately goes into questions.
Yeah.
Well, what about this? What about that? And then I just feel all of it leave me like,
Yep.
well, I don't know. We'll figure that out as we go. Do you know what I mean? And so sometimes I think that is the conflict too, is the external for me is like they want me to think through more things, where I'm just ready to go and like, we'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah. So what I would tell you there is like, what are you making that mean about you when he asks you those questions?
Well, I think it comes from a place of like self-doubt and defense of like, he's basically calling out that like, I don't have a business model. Like I don't financially know how I'm going to make this work. And also like, do I really have the skill set? Am I going to stay consistent? You know, those things like that he's bringing up, but just him asking questions brings up the self-doubts that I have about myself.
Yeah. Cause that's what I always ask people, right? Like people can't make us feel any kind of way.
Yeah.
It's always a mirror of something deeper going on. Cause right. I know how you talk about your husband and just like how deeply care, right? Like all of these things, like he wants you to do these things. Like that's not what you're saying. And this is why I'm going to say this. It's like, he has, that is not his intention. And yet, right, like that's not most people's intention when they're asking us questions, especially if they're logical people, which my husband is one as well. It's really coming from a place of like, that's their model of the world. They feel safe when they have those pieces of information, and they feel like, well, I want you to feel safe and I want this to be successful. So like, I want to ask you these questions when you're like, oh, that's bringing up a lot of like of my stuff on the inside.
Yeah.
And then what happens, right? As we get in that cycle.
Then I get mad at him and I shut down.
Yeah, right? But like that is, it's
I'm like, you're taking the wind out of my sails.
Exactly. And then what's cool about understanding what's behind it is when that happens next time, not to say it would be your immediate default, but it would allow you to be like, ooh, like what later on be like, ooh, actually this is what those questions brought up inside of me. And so that's the power of this work too, is you end up with a lot more language and communication you can have with others because of what you know is going on the inside. So you can say, reveal that to them and have a more productive conversation or reconciliation or whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Because this work bleeds into everything, though. Like right now, I'm specializing in women-owned businesses, and we do a lot in their business. Most of the time, we're talking about stuff happening in their personal life.
Right.
Because it all bleeds.
For sure.
The same beliefs move from marriage to motherhood to friendships to your business to your career. If you're in, corporate America, the beliefs follow you everywhere.
Yep. So this is so fascinating. So how do you feel, like what is like some of the biggest changes that you've noticed since you've started tapping into this work, and like how has it really impacted you in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I was able to leave corporate. There's no way. It wasn't like my husband was like, hey, like, you go flat, like, let's do this. Like, there was a lot of work that needed to happen. And for me, it was a lot of inner work that I needed to do to feel confident enough and enough in general to make the jump and to be confident in that. So that was one of the biggest things that happened for me, is stepping into that. Yeah. And then it was, things feeling easier, because my whole thing was like, everything has to be hard. Yeah. And so things flowing more, clients flowing more, opportunities, different things like that, being able to speak on stages, because my background, I've done a lot of facilitation in my corporate job, and I knew that God was like calling me to be on stages. And for so long, I like counted I'm not enough. I'm not pretty enough for that. I'm not this XYZ to be on a stage. And I was able to release a lot of that. And from that, I've gotten several opportunities over the last 6 months to be on different stages and to share this work. Because at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about ensuring that more women know you don't have to live like this.
Yeah.
You don't have to live in overwhelm. It's still going to be there and it's still going to pop up. You don't have to live in self-doubt. You don't have to stay somewhere, whatever that somewhere is that you don't want to be, that you actually are in more control and you don't have to be the victim. And you may be sitting there like I was, like I would have never said I was a victim to my circumstances.
When you said that, and then I started talking about where my I'm not enough comes from, be honest, did that sound like it was coming from a victim mentality the way I even just spoke of it?
Yeah. And the reason I say that, and again, right, like this is my model of the world, so you get to decide whether you were or not. I would say like I used a lot of the same language.
Yeah.
Because for me, it was like, woe is me. I never got the same opportunities. I worked just as hard. I watched all my peers climb the corporate ladder higher than me, including my husband who came out of grad school with me. Yeah. I'm like, what the heck? Like, I just felt like I was I was like, does anyone see me? Like all this external stuff. And I blamed my organization. And a big thing happened in my organization that at the time that just felt like a complete demotion. And I was pissed off and like, pissed off at them versus looking at me and being like, okay, what's going on here? Like what is going on the inside that would create this reality? Because I was half out at that point. So like, why would I do any, like, why would they promote me or do X, Y, Z or like, you know, have that happen if I'm giving off the energy that I'm half out?
Yeah. That's hard. I hear you. And it's hard in some ways because, for example, I was a victim of bullying.
Yep.
I was a victim of sexual harassment in the workplace.
Yep.
I was not believed.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep. And that's really...
There were barriers put up for me to where I was not able to move my ideas forward because of these two gentlemen.
Yeah. I love that you brought this up.
So like, that's kind of hard because it's like, how do I don't feel that I walk around with a victim mentality, but also sometimes you are a victim.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up because there are like, given circumstances, you are. So it isn't about like every circumstance, like you have complete control, right? We don't have control over what other people do.
Yeah.
We don't have control over what happened in those situations, right? Like this isn't a, hey, it's not a, hey, you did something to deserve that, right? Because you could hear what I'm saying and kind of go to that place of like, wait, did that happen to me because of something I did? And in those cases, like, no, like, again, unless you believe there was something you did, but in a lot of those cases, there's nothing you could have done in that circumstance to change how somebody else behaved because we can't control them. What you can control, and I use this with all my clients, this question is, given the circumstances I cannot control, what can I do now? And for you left the organization, right? So it was like, that wasn't victim mentality leaving. That was taking control of your life in a circumstance that no longer served you. And so I wouldn't say there's like this blanket of I'm a victim of my whole life. It's more where in pockets do I feel like maybe I'm playing into victim? Less in maybe those circumstances, but are there any other areas? And for me, like in particular, it was like I was playing victim to my circumstances in my corporate job because I was letting them impact how I felt about myself. And that's the other thing. When those things happen, a lot of times we make it mean something about us because how could we not?
Yeah.
And instead, this work helps you go, okay, why am I making that mean something? Where is that coming from? What is it reinforcing from my past that's bubbling up? And then what can I do about it? Does that help?
Yeah. No, it does. It does.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up.
And there are things like, the sexual harassment in the workplace, the lewd comments were always about I was dressed appropriately, but I was dressed as me.
Yeah.
And that doesn't give him the right to comment on it or to undress me with his eyes. So it's like some of that where it's like, well, I don't know that I would show up differently, but what I did is I allowed it to go on for too long.
Yeah.
And now what I'm doing is now I'm talking about it,
which I love. And like you are stepping back into control because you're like, you don't get to silence me.
Yeah.
I get to decide how I tell this story. Doesn't matter who else, right? Everybody's model of the world is different. Everybody looks at different situations differently, and everybody gets to tell their story.
Yep.
Because, right?
I think what I'm dealing with a little bit right now is, I had someone recently accuse me of being a bully, and I'm like, I am 41 years old. I am a grown ass woman. I am not in the business of bullying anyone.
1000%.
And no matter how much I kept saying, like, I'm confused. Please provide receipts. Let's have an actual phone call instead of just sending me texts, calling me, you're a bully. This is another bullying. It was like gaslighting. It was, and what it did for me is it was so triggering because it immediately took me back to high school.
Yeah.
But you're trying to put me on the other side of this. And I know what that feels like. And I'm not bullying anyone because I know how it feels.
Yeah.
Bullied. And to be accused of that was so hurtful.
Yeah.
It was also happening when I was with my family and we were out at a Timberwolves game. And I had told this individual, I am with my family right now. And that harassing texts continued to come through. And then I found out it was also taken to social media. And I'm like so angry because I felt that they were taking my time away from my family because I was no longer present. The rest of the evening, I was no longer present because I was so upset at what was happening.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And so in that case, you gave them more control.
Yeah. So I still see this individual and ran into them recently, and it was immediately triggering in the way that they approached me again. And so I can't hide.
Nope.
So
Certainly not.
So is this a situation where going into the bathroom and doing these tapping techniques to just get myself out of it quickly without it just continuing to like sit and spin and boil?
Yeah. So that's one thing. The other thing is to figure out where is this more deeply lied.
Yeah.
Because what I tell people is a lot of times how you're reacting in this situation is due to something more deep and further in your past. Because it's something called timeline work. A lot of things. And we carry things on our timeline forward. And we are subconsciously reacting so deeply because of something that happened in the past. And a lot of people will go to points, like I was telling you the other day, like it's probably even deeper than like what happened in, I think you said high school. Was it high school?
Yep.
Because a lot, and again, it could be super insignificant, but a lot of what we're reacting is from ages 7 or earlier.
Okay.
Again, not because they were like these massive, they could be big team trauma moments. A lot of times they're these smaller things that at that age feel right. We think about our kids now. We both have younger kids. It's like things feel so big to them.
Yeah.
And they are big. And so it's also doing that work. So one is like in the moment, like emotional freedom technique is amazing because it's like in the moment, gives you that like, and so yes, I would say like, I would even do it like if you're going to an event, that person's going to be there, do it at home.
Yep. Okay.
Or if like in the moment you feel yourself hijacked, like sometimes people are just like, you could like just start tapping on one, like just on the side of your hand. And it allows you, like even me doing that, like it allows you to take that breath.
Yep.
And come back because what happens is we start to operate outside our body.
Yep.
And tapping gets you back inside your body.
That has been a theme of the last several conversations I've had, is going inward versus outward. And I love that because again, that's how I'm approaching styling. So it just really like aligns with the work that I do as well. You are doing the Lord's work, girlfriend. I am so proud of you. I love that this is where God has led you, and I can see how this would benefit so many women. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram under Unlock Her Co. I'll give you the handle. You can drop it in the show notes. So you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. My podcast is on pause, but you can follow along and I'll let you know. And there's a lot of episodes, I think 100 episodes you can play around with. A lot that can teach you about subconscious reprogramming. Also my website. So my website has a lot of incredible information. And if you are a woman-owned business, I highly recommend checking out how you might be able to do this work because it makes such a difference and you either pay for it now or you pay for it later.
Yeah. We got to start investing in ourselves. Okay, last question I ask everyone. What is one common thread that you believe connects us all as humans?
We all want to belong.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. It ties back to everything we're talking about. We all just want to belong and we all just want to feel safe.
Yes. Amen to that. Thank you for giving us the gift of your time and your talents. And listeners, I'm always open to ideas. If there's stories that you want to hear or if there's guests that you want to have back to go deeper, My inbox is open, amy@amyseaman.com. And we will see you again next week. Thanks for tuning in.